welcome back to the Better Men, Better Ball Player podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cobb. I want to thank you for joining us here on our 60th episode of the podcast, where we're focusing on development not only on the field, but as well as off the field, trying to grow the game the best we can, be guardians of the game. And another guardian we get to talk to today is Coach from Olentangy Orange, Mr. Tom Marker. Coach Marker, during his time at Olentangy, he's just turned these guys into a powerhouse. Right now, they're number one ranked in Ohio, in the top 50 national ranking. He's got right now the all-time best winning percentage at Orange. In his career, he has been at the top of the program in the state in the last 3 state poll rankings. In 2016, he was asked to speak at the National High School Baseball Coach Association in St. Louis, and since then he's spoken at the Ohio Baseball Coach Association as well as the Louisiana High School Baseball Coach Association clinics. Over the last six seasons, Coach Marker has led his teams at 4 district final appearances. He was named Central District Coach of the Year in 2013. He also served as a president of the Central District Coach Association and is currently now a member of the High School Baseball Coach Association staff. So right now at Orange, they are, like I said, the number one ranked team in Ohio. Right now they're 17-2. Took time out of his day to be able to talk to me, kind of talk to me about what they were doing, get a little insight, a little behind the curtains about what he's doing. Extremely detail-oriented, but right now they're hitting over 400. They got rosters. They got commitments on the rosters from Vanderbilt, Wright State, Toledo, King University, West Liberty University, Ohio Northern University, and like you mentioned in the podcast, many more prospects to come. He's a teacher, teaches 6th grade math, and been on other numerous podcasts, and even just as a teacher as well. So you can just tell the not only just the baseball coach, but you can tell he's a good teacher. He's been on a podcast called Making Math Moments, which I thought was pretty cool. But he's been at Independence High School, Grove City, Bexley, Upper Arlington, and now currently he's at Olentangy Orange in Ohio. So just an incredible conversation, very detail-oriented, gets into really kind of some great details of his practice, as well as what he's looking at in games, how he's scouting teams, the classroom sessions, how it's happened, and really just his philosophy and how it changed of how he coaches during games and how he's helping kids reach their full potential. So without further ado, I can't thank Coach Marker enough. It's a tremendous conversation we got to have. So can't wait for you guys to enjoy this one. So again, here he is, Coach Tom Marker from Olentangy Orange High School in Ohio.
Yeah, we're doing all right. We're right now we're ranked first in the state in the prep baseball report. We were first in the state in the Ohio High School Coaches Association. I think coming into this week, but I want to say we dropped this week, maybe like 2 or 3 somewhere in there. Playing, we're 16-2 or 17-2. We won last night, so 17-2. We dropped a game on a weekend this past weekend, and then we dropped one of our conference games about 2 weeks ago. But 17-2, and got about you play a 27 game schedule here in Ohio. So seeding will come out for the tournament. We actually put our records in tomorrow, and everybody seeds teams on Saturday, and then we draw on Sunday. So it's going fast. So, but yeah, we're playing well. We're doing some really good things, I think, on both sides of the ball. So
yeah, is it come to a surprise to you? Is it something that you maybe were expecting out of this group, or?
I mean, everybody chirped before the season, oh, you guys are loaded, this and that, and I knew we had some talent coming back. Last year's team was going to be really, really good too, and we lost, I think it was 16 years off of last year's club, and starting second baseman, and number one arm, a couple other guys, but we had some components back from the 2019 team. We started 5 sophomores and a freshman. Now they're juniors and seniors. Our junior shortstop's committed to Vanderbilt. Center fielder's committed to Toledo. Number one arm's committed to Wright State. He's a potential draft kid. He's 6-0. He's hitting 94. Really good arm. And then we got a King University commit. He's our catcher. Got a couple sophomore arms that are really, really good. Right fielder's going to Ohio Northern, which is a Division III school here in Ohio. So, yeah, we got the pieces, man. And our guys, we have 22 guys on our varsity roster, and I don't think there's one guy that we can't count on in a big situation. Just they contribute so many different ways. So it's pretty cool to see. There's a pretty connected group.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I told him just yesterday. I was like, we came off that loss, and I just said, coach has got to take a little responsibility. We put him in a tough spot. It was the day after we played our rival, and come back at 8 a.m. for BP and trying to get a bounce back game, and probably put him in a bad spot. But I said the wins, man. Sometimes after these wins, we sit back as a coaching staff. And we're just like, man, these dudes are fun to watch. This is a cool team. That's what I told our guys. I said, man, when they click, it's on. So yeah, it makes it a lot of fun for sure.
So is practice pretty fun?
Yeah, our training environment is awesome. Like, we do a really good job. Oh man, I'll tell you, it's different. It's different just because they compete at a different level.
Right.
There's internal competition that's really, really good. And just the way they get after. I mean, they've been in the program for so many years that they understand the way we go about it on the field. We train them pretty hard, and then whenever they get the game situation, we talk about it being their playground, and they kind of let it rip at that point. But the training's really, really good.
Yeah, let's dive into some of that, man. Like, what are some when you say competitive environment? Are you putting them in a competitive environment, or you said mostly it's just their inner?
I think it's a little mix of both. I mean, I think we strategically plan our practices. I would say they're well thought out. Our plans usually come out early in the morning or early risers. So our plans come out early in the morning, and our coaches take a look at them and add where they need to add. But I think we're really detail oriented. We have a good plan going in. We use a lot of film from games and stuff to kind of drive our instruction each day. But as far as the competitive piece, I mean, when you got guys that are just flat out players, if you don't show up, you're gonna get exposed in practice. So we just talk a lot about maximizing reps, and we film practices, or trainings. We call them trainings, but we film those, and we hold guys accountable in the classroom. If your pre-pitch steps aren't on time, or your contact steps aren't on time on the bases in training, then you're not going to play. You won't play game day. So they just got to be on point. They know everything's charted. We have a girl on our staff that's she's a senior in high school. She's going to Charleston in West Virginia on a baseball scholarship for analytics. So
that's awesome.
They had some baseball money, and so she charts fielding percentage during on-field BP and touches and things like that. So things are measured daily. So if you don't show up, it's gonna be told. So
after she tallies them, what do you like to do with them when she lets you get your data at the end of the day?
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, sometimes we don't even share it with our guys. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we post it. Sometimes we don't. I would say more so it drives our instruction. And kind of, gets us ready for how we're going to create the training environment the next day, to be honest with you.
And probably maybe some individual stuff, you have indie work or specific skill work,
like early ins or whatever. Yeah. Like today was a PD, what we call a PD day. So today we didn't have a structured practice. It was more of a what we call personal development. So we may say hey, you're coming in and this is exactly what you're working on this day. Other days we kind of let them have free reign and say, hey, you're going to come in, the facility's open at this time, but here's some things we suggest you may work on. But we talk about our classroom session yesterday was really big on secondary leads and pre-pitch steps as defense. So the guys, when they came in today, some of them may have worked on those things. Some of them may have worked on some hitting things we saw. But yeah, all that drives instruction. Some people say, you're gonna overload them with data. We don't share all the data. We use it to as a teacher, right? To me, grades are almost worthless to the student. In all honesty, I think grades are really important to the teacher, to let the teacher know, hey, the kids are understanding what you're teaching, or they're not. But then it guides you your next day. And I'm saying with baseball, the data, the analytics, the metrics, all those things are great, but I don't think the kids have to know those. how do they drive your instruction is a big thing.
So even just from a competitive standpoint, it's not saying, hey, here's our top 3 fielding percentages, or here's they got the most touches, things like that.
Nah, I mean, we've thought about doing it that way. I know there's some teams that do it that way. Talked to like Mike Deegan, who's a close friend of mine at Denison. He said he used to chart that all the time, and he's kind of gotten away from it a little bit. But no, I think guys know. I mean, we talk after practice all the time, and after our trainings or whatever the case may be, and just say like, who had a day today, who was flat out. And they don't need to say, well, this guy was 9 for 11, and this guy was 10 for 12, and no, like this guy flat out competed. You can see it, and so we're just constantly on them about things too. So there's not a lot of downtime in training, and I don't think they compete so much for numbers. You know the guys that are making plays in practice, and it gets called out constantly. So, but yeah, I don't think we use the numbers to rank kids as much.
Mm-hmm.
We do with QABs a little bit in game, but even with that, I haven't posted them a lot this year. I used to post them all the time. I've posted them a few times, but more so we've been posting like first pitch swing percentage and first pitch strike takes and stuff like that, because that's a big emphasis as far as this year is just quit taking fastballs. So
you say offensively?
Offensively, we just take a lot of pitches. Well, we used to. We don't anymore. Now we almost swing it too many. I mean, kid against us yesterday was 54 pitches through 5.
Oh yeah.
I think we were swinging it. We were swinging it too many yesterday, but I'd rather have it that way than the other way around. Like I feel like aggressiveness and is one of the hardest things.
And then you can pull it back. Right.
Yeah, you can always rein it back. I remember like Corbs talked about like Vanderbilt was playing, and we shared this story with our kids often, but Vanderbilt was playing Florida, and Austin Martin was at second base, and they're down a run with 2 outs. And it's late in the ball game, and he goes to steal third, and it's not even close. He's dead. And they asked Corbs after the game. They're like, man, you got the freshman, the Austin Martin kid gets thrown out here. What are you thinking? He's like, listen, Austin Martin's just out to beat you. That's all he cares about. All he cares about is beating the opponent. Like, yes, it's probably not the smartest baseball play, but he's just trying to beat you. We can dial that back. It's hard to teach a kid just to get out there and just compete. So
absolutely.
That's our same thought process too. Like, I'd rather have you up. Like, we had a kid pinch hit yesterday. It's a 3-1 count, and he takes a daddy hack in a tie game. I mean, just off the bench, and I'm like, the next pitch is not even close, ball 4. If he takes that pitch and it gets to 3-2, he's no strikeout looking.
Mm-hmm.
But because he was aggressive, and we've also done some stats, and not just myself. I have a buddy named Ryan Chipka. He's with the Yankees now. He used to be an assistant coach at Michigan. He did a study that showed like you walk more. The more you swing, the more you walk.
Wow.
And like he went and charted like old ESPN, watch ESPN games and some college games, and just showed that like the more aggressive you are, the more walks you'll draw. And like I noticed that in high school game a lot. Like if you're aggressive, guys will nibble, right?
Okay.
And guys aren't good enough at the high school level to nibble. So like if they know you're swinging first pitch fastball, now they're going to try to get me over breaking ball that they may not have in their arsenal. And then now they're 1-0 to you, and now they're trying to fight, and they're like, man, if I give this guy a fastball here, maybe I'll change it up a little bit. And they just nibble a little bit more. If you're aggressive in the zone, I think you draw more walks, in all honesty.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's cool. That's cool. It's funny you say that, because you typically do see that almost go hand in hand with like power numbers, doubles, and walks,
Yeah.
So that'd be close to that. Yeah. So, man, there's a couple things to unpack there, man. Like talking about like, your classroom sessions as well as like in-game data. You kind of just briefly touched on that, man. If you want to roll. So classroom sessions, is this something like you do like once a week, twice? Is it like a scheduled part, or is it like, hey, we have to do this today. We have to have a classroom session because we're not doing this very well?
Yeah. When we were in our, when we didn't have our indoor facility, it would be in the gym. So my assistant coach's classroom was across the hall. So that was easy, right? It was every single day we would go over the plan and get it rolling, and then maybe there'd be like a lesson, something instilled within the plan. Now we have an indoor facility, and I installed a projection screen and a projector in there. We have stools for the guys. So I would say they probably occur like 4 to 5 days a week, but it's not necessarily on the schedule. You know what I mean? So like it just depends on if it's needed that day, or if we feel like there's something we need to touch on. And then the in-game stuff, like, so we put everything on Huddle, all of our games. And so we share an account with our football team, and then I'll watch it that night or the next morning and look for certain things. And then I'll chop it up and then put it into a slide presentation. So for instance, like I said before, ours was really over secondary leads and and pre-pitch movement by our defense. And so that was big because I felt like those two things went hand in hand. Like I think when you land that secondary is when you should be landing your pre-pitch step defensively.
Okay.
And so we talk about when it's supposed to happen, and we just did a really poor job of that. And so we talked about that and tried to make some corrections to that going into yesterday's game. So, but like I also have a database of lessons, you know, that stem from perseverance to overcoming adversity to confidence to whatever the case may be. So I pull from those two just whenever I feel the time is right.
You're talking through the classroom session as needed. You'll throw in your slideshow from Huddle, and then if you need to, then you put in like your leadership skills.
Yeah, and so even with those leadership skills, we started to do this. We haven't done a great job of it, but I did what they call town meetings on Sundays, where I would have our
town
guys,
meetings.
What we call town meetings. So
okay,
it wasn't
cool.
really truly a town meeting, but it was basically our program jumping on a Zoom call. We would go over the week ahead, talk about what just happened in the previous week, talk about movements within our program, guys going to JV, guys going to freshman, guys moving to play with the varsity that week. And then it would go into whatever, you know, leadership skill or character trait or whatever I wanted to discuss for that given day. So we did those for Sundays, and then I found it was tough to get everybody there. And I felt like some of our guys that were missing needed to hear the message. So then I started recording those Zooms, and I would send them out on Remind. So we did. I still do them every Sunday, but not as much as they need to be in person. They're more so recorded. So I don't love it, but that's just another way to get some of those messages out.
Mm-hmm.
So we did something with our guys at the end of last year of you know, what do we do that we should keep doing? You know what I mean? What's one thing we should stop doing? So stop, start, and continue, basically.
Yeah.
So what's something we should stop doing? What's something we should start doing? What's something we continue? One of the kids was like, Coach, I'd really like you to start including more of the young guys in your classroom sessions, because most of the time it's our varsity guys hearing those messages. And so that's where I came up with the town meeting thing, so that some of the younger guys could hear the messages.
Yeah. No, I think it's really cool too with the personnel, you know, because man, like I was small school. So we were so fluid with that, you know, we needed the guys to come up and then still be on JV. So that's a really cool, great way to communicate too, man. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And we try to change like the terminology too. Like, and I've worked really hard at this, and it's just like we don't call them cuts, right? We call them roster reductions. We tell the kids we're not cutting ties with you. You may not be a part of this program in terms of baseball, but you need that relationship. We don't want to cut that relationship. So we call them roster reductions. Or I think the verbiage that you use when you speak, for instance, like we don't say you're going down to JV or you're going down to freshman, you're going up to varsity. We basically say you're going to play where you can help a team win and you can best improve your own game. So I try not to talk as if it's down and up and that. I just say, listen, you're going to play on, and again, maybe it's, you know, semantics, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But, like, I think it's important, like, how you verbalize the fact that, listen, you're coming to play on the varsity team to help us win a game. And then guess what? Tomorrow you may be playing JV to help them win a game. So don't think up and down. Just think where you are is where you're supposed to be and get it done.
Yeah. You're going to go play here.
Yeah. Yep. You're going to play.
For sure. No, it's all definitely a mindset too, man. You're talking – it is semantics, but it's also a mindset. It's also a positive mindset, growth mindset, you know, all those things, man. It's awesome. Sure. Even just like how Butch does with the developmental team, not a JV team.
Yes. Yeah. I like that a lot too. And then there's a guy in Ohio that calls his, all of his youth teams his 401k.
Oh, nice.
He's like, we're going to pay into you like crazy, but you better believe we're going to pull back out when you get about 17, 18. He calls his youth program his 401k.
That's cool. That's real cool, man. That's real cool. 401k youth program. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I told that a little bit.
Yeah, that's super cool, man.
But,
oh man, that's awesome. So we're rolling, man. I appreciate it. Oh, dude. So quality at bats, you know. So you were talking about some in-game stuff that you do with quality at bats. Dive into that a little bit. Is it just simple as yes, he did it, no, he didn't? How's it driving instruction, or is that maybe competitive?
Yeah, I think it's more competitive. I mean, our guys have made it more competitive, but as far as like how we track it, I don't know. Let me see if I could do this on here and you can kind of get a look just so you kind of understand what it looks like. But this is our chart that we use. So basically, we just go through 8 pitch at bat is a QAB. I think everybody talks about that anyways. A missile with backspin, that's a little bit subjective probably. Hit by pitch, a walk, a hit, a timely advancement, a lead runner, sac fly, sac bunt. That's how you're going to get it done. And basically, we chart it up and we keep those percentages. And like for us, a timely advancement of lead runner is not grounding out and moving a run from second to third with 2 outs, right? I mean,
right.
It's got to be with less than 2. And like the other night, we were in a 3-3 game or a 4-3 game. Men on guys on first and third, I think is what it was, and nobody out. We're grounding into a double play, and our coaches were talking like, "Is that timely advancement? I mean, did score the run? We needed to have that run there." You know, because most people say, well, you know, a double play is it's not an RBI, but he got the tying run in. He found a way to get the guy in. So sometimes that can get a little bit iffy too. But for the most part, we just chart this and kind of go through the quality at bat piece of it. So I don't know if it's probably not our number one thing. It's probably not like our absolute thing that we use in terms of data. Like ours is, again, we have a card that I keep in my pocket that basically has first pitch or fastball takes for strikes. I chart QABs on it. We chart like pitcher UCLA tendencies.
That's definitely something taught, and it's part of your program, it's part of your language. So you discuss these things in classroom sessions, watch the videos, and then how do you go about implementing that kind of stuff in practice?
So we do it in video a ton. I show them pro games that do it. We show them a bunch of college games where guys do it. And then we also, when we do any inter squads, we don't score runs. We score points.
Okay.
So you give points for things you value.
Yep.
So for instance, a run is still a point, but a 2-out RBI is an additional point. A bunt single is 3 points. A red alert play is 5 points. You know, so everything's scored on a point. Getting on the field in 15 seconds or less is a point. Getting a 1, 2, 3 innings, 2 points. So we score. We have point values. So red alerts are huge. So if it's a red alert day, they may be worth 10 that day. If you can get a red alert on somebody and step on their throat, you better go for it because that's 10 points today. Go first to third on a single. You know, that's going to be points. So I think whenever you do inter squads, you have a really good opportunity to emphasize things by giving points as opposed to runs.
Mm-hmm.
And not that we won't count runs, but, you know, also like if you're emphasizing pitch command and jumping first pitch strikes. So we say if you take a first pitch strike, the count's 0-2. If you throw a first pitch ball, the count's 2-0. So from the offensive and defensive perspective, it makes you hone in on the importance of that first pitch. That's not something if you're not a big. So some guys that we throw, or not so much this year, but years past, we may say, man, I don't want this guy to be 90% first pitch strikes. He's going to get murdered in that, you know what I mean? He's going to throw first pitch 8-5 off the plate and come back change up. Like that's his game. So, but I think whatever you emphasize within your program, you got to put some value on it in the inter squad. So
so you're going to inter squad almost every day.
In the fall, for sure. Like in the fall, we're not allowed to train our guys. We're not allowed to instruct them, but they know, we call them hustle rules. So we play open fields with hustle rules. And our guys know hustle rules means we give point values for these things. And then they keep score and they pick teams and things like that. But anytime they're going to play a game on our field against each other, they're going to play hustle rules.
Hustle rules. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people call it like process-based scrimmaging, things like that. You know, I think you just got to own it. You know what I mean? You just got to own it. I just love how you own it. You know, you made it your own. You know, that's something that you started. How long's that been with you?
With the hustle rules?
Yeah.
I worked Vandy Camp back in 2014. The summer of 2014, and I remember we were taking our teams, like, so Corbs gives you teams to take over for scrimmages, and then he gave us here's the rules, here's what you get points for. Today we're going to talk about bunting for a hit and the bite, how important that is. So it's going to be worth 3. So once he started talking about that, that's what we started doing in 2015. Mm-hmm. Right after I worked that camp, I started doing those. So just the way he ran camp, and it wasn't you didn't score runs, you got points, and this is what the points were for. So you know, like any bad body language was my energy vampire was -1, or you know what I mean, whatever the case may be. So we stole it from there and been doing it since about 2015.
Right. No, that's cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool stuff, man. That's awesome stuff. So you know, Chuck Box talks a lot about like just going and watching things. So is that something that you like to do? You like to work camps to kind of keep you fresh, kind of learn new things? I know you go to ABCAs. Is That's what you usually like to do though. You like to work camp.
Yeah, I think working camp is huge. Like that's changed my whole, like the group that I've formed from working camp. So I've worked Vandy since 2014. I've worked Ohio State since 2013. I go work Griff's Carson Newman catching camp every summer. Been out of that a bunch. Worked Michigan's prospect camp 2 years ago. I think camps are gigantic, and more so just so you can see how they structure things, but also you meet so many people and then you form those networks. For me, like working Vandy camp changed my life in terms of like not only the coaching stuff, but just how to operate, how to be more organized and on time and detail oriented and all those things. And then when I got an opportunity to work prospect camp, I met so many college coaches, there wasn't a ton of high school coaches working that, but just some dudes that like, now those are my Zoom groups during the pandemic, guys that like, it was my buddy, Robbie Britt's the head coach at Charleston in West Virginia. And he, myself and Ryan Chipka, who I talked about earlier, who's in Michigan, now is with the Yankees. We did what we call CBM Zooms, and we did them about every other week.
Okay.
And just pick brains. And we'd be like, all right, what do we want to talk about this week? We'd be like, all right, hitting. All right, who's the 7 best hitting guys we can think of? So like Trey Hannon was on there, and Brian Harrison from Baldwin Wallace. And then we'd say, okay, we're gonna do a catching one. Who are the guys? And we're like, okay, you got to have Griff on, and you got to get Butch on, and we do it for about 8 to 12 guys, and just chop it up. And those have been really helpful too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So, and Andrew Wright is a guy that I know.
Yeah.
There's a connection there with a guy that was kind of from our area who went up there. 2 guys from our area went up there, and I've touched base with him multiple times from a staffing thing. Like his ABCA stuff for the staff was just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've had some good conversations with him for sure.
Yeah. He's a good dude, man. He got one of our guys out of Upper Arlington whenever I was at UA, so I kind of met him through that.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah, great guy. Should reach out to him, man. He'd be a good guy to talk to baseball with.
Yeah, for sure. He's really good.
Good. Even Coach Britt too, man. I heard great stuff. I got to meet Ian McDonald at the last ABCA, so I got to meet Ian. And then I haven't got to meet Coach Britt though. Just heard good things,
Yeah, he's a great person. Like I met him through camp too, through Vandy. So like we have a big Vandy camp connection of all these guys that. It's the craziest camp. Like it's the only one camp that I work with. The staff is the same every year, and like when you go to camp, you're gonna be with these guys. Alonzo Wright, who was at Tulane, and now he's scout for the Red Sox. Like he works camp every year, and Nathan Fritz, who's at King University down in Bristol, Tennessee, and like just guy after guy after guy after guy. It's pretty cool. Plus, I mean, obviously the Vandy staff, but to me, working camp is awesome. Like I'm bringing 2 guys that haven't worked camp before down at Vandy with me this year, and one's this guy named Matt Ittner. He's from Cox High School in Virginia. He's a stud. So.
Matt's an absolute stud. Yeah, Matt. Matt's gonna be on before you are. So me and Matt just touched base and chopped it up last week, and we've been in contact. He's been helping me with a couple kids that I'm gonna get possibly looking at in the summer, but Matt's sharp, man.
Yeah, he's on it. So yeah, he's actually coming down with me this year to work youth camp. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, he's really good. Very, very, very good.
Yeah.
So that's what I told him about, like just for us getting together too. And I'm like, man, Matt, like, because we're just as much as he talked about, like, man, in this program, we chopped it up pretty good. And he's a dude. Like, he's a smart young kid. He was he was in Alabama too, man. I got to meet him, and great guy.
Yeah, really he's on it.
How did you get to meet him? How'd you get to meet him?
He reached out to me through Twitter.
Okay.
I would say like 3 years ago, and we met out. He said, "Hey, listen, you going to ABCA?" I was going, and so we connected there, and just kind of stayed in touch. And then again, he was always on those Zooms with me and Britt and Chipka over the pandemic. So
cool.
He was always willing to get on those. So we just stayed in contact. We bounce ideas off each other all the time, man. He's a good dude. So
yeah, he is, and he's doing the Brett McCabe stuff too.
Yeah.
So he's getting some great stuff and staying sharp with all that, man. So he's really, really good coach for sure.
For sure.
Cool. Crazy. There it is. There's the network right there, man.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
So
that's it, man. That's it. You got to keep it growing.
Yeah, so I'm going back to your card that you keep. You had mentioned that about that too. For me, it's just managing that. Like you
Mhm.
manage all that's on your card, and you're just tallying that on constantly all during the game.
I miss a bunch of it. So
Okay.
when I miss it, I can go back through the game film now that we film every game. So if there's something important that I wanna jot down, I can go back through it and pop it up and do that kind of thing. But again, it probably has more than I need it to on there. Like it helps better if I show just so you kind of understand. But like I don't know if you know down at Southeast Riser down at Southeast Louisiana. You familiar with him at all? Talks
No.
about being stuck on green. So this is a stuck on green clock. Basically, your pitcher to home and catcher pop time connected, right? And
Okay.
so then we may have like our guy's name and then what's his time, so that we know if we're over under. I haven't messed with that a lot. I do chart the QABs. My assistant always charts the fastball takes, so I don't mess with that too much.
Okay.
Then over here we got all of our red alerts. So if I do see a red alert, I do chart that.
No,
Dirt ball.
you're charting that. You're charting that when like you see like you can take
When
it.
I see it, boom, I just write it down.
All right, not so much like when we do it. It's a matter of like here's what we can get it.
Yep.
Got it.
And then dirt balls, fastball takes again. Base two, I don't do that till after the game.
Okay.
A3P, I added that. That's for my my pitching
Pitchers.
coach wanted that on there, so I don't mess with that. He wanted to track first pitch strikes too, so and then it just duplicates because then the other side is like all of our opponent stuff. So this gets charted before the game. This is not in game. This is just my notes. So like is he first pitch aggressive? Is he an aggressive hitter? Is he a patient hitter? Is he struggle velocity? Is he struggle off speed? Is he a bunt guy, a wheels guy, that kind of stuff. And then umpires' names, all that stuff gets written down ahead of time. And then like pitcher tendencies, like what are they a look? Are they a one looker, two looker, one look, turn and go guy? All of this is pregame. So I fill this out like during my lunchtime on the guys that we have reports on. And then like righty moves versus lefty moves. I don't want to go too much into what this is, but like if a righty's a heel tipper, then that's a highlight there. Or if he's I don't know, you can talk just whatever. So this is righty and lefty tips. Is he a toe guy on the lefty? Like, does he give up the backside toe when he's coming over, or does he grind it when he goes to the plate? That kind of thing. So we just chart that ahead of time. And then
those are guys that you, like you said, those are guys you just have like a chart on. So that might. Yep. So when you go down and play Butch or you go down to Louisiana, this is probably not done.
All it is just you got to get creative. So you got to call this guy's girlfriend who played this person, and you got to get super creative. But I'll never go into a game without knowing something about that punt. Now, again, my guys don't need to know all this,
right?
But I can easily get I can get this whole page done without ever seeing a game if I can get to the right contacts and get the right the right books, charts, whatever, through contacting people. Now, Butch is hard because everybody loves Butch, so they won't give stuff up on him.
Yeah.
But I'll find a guy that I coached back in 2009 that lives like I got a guy that works for the Memphis Grizzlies who went and watched Oxford play and Bartlett, Tennessee play before we went and played them. So he went to 6 games. So I just try to find people that want to go watch games. So
okay.
But yeah, so I try to get as much of that stuff filled out before we go.
Yeah. What is your X factor?
Just like for that person, are they a bunt guy? You know what I mean?
Like what's their skills? Okay.
Yeah, like what X factor do they have?
Yeah.
That we may need to pay attention to.
You got a key on or something like that.
Yeah. Like we just played this Olentangy Liberties in our league. Played them last night and played them Friday, and like they got guys that bunt and handle the bat really well. We know they're super aggressive on the base paths. They like to do picks a lot, so you just got to prepare for this. So for us, we do a Liberty, like it's like a football team, right? If there's a team in your conference that runs the option,
you
better have an option period in your training the whole entire season. You can't train for the option the week of the option team. You got to put 20 minutes, 15 minutes into your practice every day. So when we go play Liberty, they're so disciplined and do so many things well that we have a Liberty period in our practice the entire season.
Wow.
So that's when we talk about those X factors or what like we have a certain way to get back to the bases against Liberty based on what they do for picks and stuff. And we say, okay, hey, Liberty period, 7 minutes, let's go. Here it is. So I like that part. Like that's fun for me. Like I love the scouting and that stuff. And people say, well, you're going to overload them with information. We don't tell them the information.
Yeah.
We just create our practice plan, our training plan, create the right environment to induce those types of behaviors to see if they can respond to it.
Not for sure. Well, like you said, it's also just driving your instruction.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt.
Have you ever found out that some kids want it? Like what? Like
Yeah.
I know that you're a teacher, and I know that you like it different. You can tell that you're going to give it to the kid that they need it. So have you seen it give a kid that are they ready for it?
Yeah, for sure. Like our number one arm right now, we had him on Rapsodo, and we just talked to the guys about it. We brought him in for a classroom session, taught him about like what the little basic pieces of Rapsodo are. But there's one guy on our team, we better not tell him any of it. And we didn't. Right. We don't tell him a word. But there's another guy that can go in there, hear it, and be like, okay, well, what if I try this? Hey, what if I do this? And we got another kid that's going to Syracuse. Not for baseball. They don't even have a baseball team, but he's going for analytics, and he loves hearing about that stuff and loves learning it and stuff like that. So yeah, I think you got to know your skill set and differentiate instruction just like you would in the classroom, right? Like this kid really has a cerebral approach to baseball, which is awesome. So yeah, let's feed that. But this guy, he just needs to go. Like we got a kid right now. He's a hockey player. He's a stud, and he comes out like a gangbuster for us this year at the very beginning of the season. He's kind of leveling off right now. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, you just got to tell him, like, just go play, be the Neanderthal. Don't be the guy that thinks about this. And what if I spin the ball here? Just go play like you were when you first showed up. And I don't talk so when we have PD days and it'll say, hey, listen, on front toss, I want you doing this, or off the machine, I want you to do this. He'll always go, Coach, how come mine doesn't say anything? I'm like, because I just want you to go swing, man. Just like catch barrels today. Like that's your instruction. He's like, what about my hands and this and that? I'm like, no, man. Like, just go be a hockey player today in baseball. Just go play. So each kid's a little bit different. So.
Not for sure. I'd love to dive into maybe some PD days, just to kind of grasp around it. Because I think especially in high school, because I got towards the end, especially, you're playing 3-4 games a week, like that one practice is like, look, you guys just need to kind of go on your own. It's less structure, but I'm sure you've probably built up. You sound like a routine-oriented guy, given the details, they kind of know going into it. How have you built this kind of like just unstructured environment where kids go in and they kind of know, here's what I am doing on front toss, here's the flips, here's what I'm going to do? How have you kind of built that?
I think through conversation. Like we do exit meetings like anybody does, right? At the end of the season, but now we do quarterly meetings. And we'll give them goals, and they'll set their own goals, and we'll say, okay, how do you get to that goal, and what do you think here? And so during that time, like it would be like, hey, you're not very strong right now, so like when you go hit today, we really want you on weighted bats. We want you to overload, underload. And they kind of, as the season progresses, we may make some tweaks to their plan, but they know what gets them right. I think it was Blake Allen, who's at DePaul now, talked about like, with hitters, they should have an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. And like your appetizer is like I'm getting loose, right?
Right.
Your entree, that's the meat and potatoes. It's not going to be super pretty. It's going to be a grind. It's going to be whatever you're struggling on. It's going to be ball 6, 7, 8 off the plate, that type of thing. And then your dessert's like, all right, I just want to finish with like a good taste in my mouth. So I'm going to finish on this drill that just like I get off on, like this drill. I'm going to freaking hit missiles, and that's going to be my day. So talking to the kids a little bit about that, like, listen, man, this is your, what do you do to get ready? And you got to talk to some kids because they have no idea what they do to get ready. Right.
Right.
The more
especially
mature
especially not a young one. Right. Like when we're getting kids from freshman, sophomore, like they're just not going to know.
No. And that older guy's got to kind of bring them along. Right. But we have a pitcher, this laser kid that's a senior for us. He's a stud, and I know he's going to get his work in. Like we have recovery days and recovery plans for our pitchers, and they can go in our facility and get their foam rolling in and they reverse those. But they know they've built a plan now where they're like, okay, I know on this day, this is what I got, right? I'm going to go do, it's my PD day. Like today, our one of our players came in, and I said, hey, what do you do today for PD? He was like, man, he came in and he did like 6 hacks and took a little break and did 6 more. And he went over to the plyo wall for a little bit, and he was done in like 10 minutes. And he was pissed. Our coach was like, man, come on, man. Like, what's going on? And I was thinking in my head, like, this kid's easy. He's playing really well right now. I'm not messing with him. He knows what he needs. Maybe his body's a little tired, toward the middle of the season. So I trust our guys. I think that's the special part about this group is we can kind of let them rip, and trust them on a PD day. So yeah, you have to build up to it, and you have to show them everything that's on the menu too. Like there's everything that we have available for you, but you also got to know what gets you right, and we talk about them all the time. Like you can't have, A goals with B actions, right? Like if you have A goals, you better have A actions. If you're getting B results, you better change the lead up, right? So, if we come tomorrow and the guy that got 6 to 12 swings in yesterday or today during PD day and he stinks tomorrow, we might have to have a conversation about like, hey, what's our process right now? What are we doing? So, but I trust our guys full way, man. They're in a good spot. So
I'm just thinking about the quarter meetings. So you're talking about quarter meetings. So, because I know like everybody has different regulations. So you guys can do things in the fall, like where your quarter meetings start in the fall, like that. Or are you talking about quarter meetings just during your spring season?
No, so we do like end of spring,
okay,
end of summer,
okay,
end of fall, and before spring.
Got it.
So you're gonna do those quarterly meetings each time. So like, and then we'll update their ippy dippy, what we call like their individual player development plan.
Yeah.
So what we try to do is we create one for each kid. Again, I know I'm a screen share, man, but this just helps me talk about it. But like, so this is an ippy dippy for a kid. I blacked out his name, but this is an ippy dippy. So in the spring, we assessed them on certain things and we charted all their weight training throughout. We created a plan for the guy. Now this plan gets edited all the time.
Right.
And then like, what was his personal goal? What was his team goal? And then we've changed it, but it used to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It would have each day what he does in the off season, but they set their own metric goals. And so for each kid down here, it would just have like grades, right? Like what are you graded on toughness and body language and your throwing ability, your blocking ability, all those different things, just positional or whatever. So, and then we meet with those guys, like I said, 4 times, and we pull this up and we say, okay, hey, listen, man, we talked to you about, your pitch calling was pedestrian. Like you want to be a catcher, but your pitch calling is just not good. What have you done to improve that? We told you to go watch this film or told you to go do this. We told one guy his arm strength had to get ready. If he wanted to play for us this year or make the roster, his arm strength. So we said, here's the prescribed throwing program. Well, we can instruct you in the fall, but our facilities will be open. You got to get it in. So then when he had his what we call transparency meeting right after tryouts, we just said, hey, did you do these things? He's like, I didn't. I'm like, how do you expect us to keep you? He's like, I know, I messed up. We can't keep you. We're not gonna be able to. But if we didn't have those meetings throughout, he wouldn't have fully understood that. And the reason we started those meetings was because we were releasing guys and they were getting punched in the face. Like they had no idea it was coming. And it wasn't fair to them. Now we have these constant conversations with guys all the time. So.
And so I'm just thinking about your goals now and what you put on that. So are you basing like you testing different things right around that time?
Yeah. Like you're talking about like weight in the weight room and stuff?
I guess weight room. Yeah. Are you like exit velocity and like velo back? Cause you're when you're saying guys gotta get better velo, I'm sure you're testing about that. And
yep. Yeah. Yeah. So we test them on it. We give them a plan. We put them in groups. So we're allowed 6-player workouts in the fall and winter. You can work up to 6 guys, but we also tell them the best hitters find a way to hit on their own too, and so we set those goals and some guys go get outside instruction too. And we tell them you can go get outside instruction. There's really good instructors up here, but you better meet these goals. And they're not all metric driven, Some of them will throw 3, compete with 3 pitches in the zone, command 3 pitches on both sides of the plate or whatever the case may be. So, and then when we get into tryouts, we chart that stuff and we say, listen, we told you this is what you're going to need to do to make the roster. You didn't get it done. So, but yeah, I think the quarterly meetings we do on Zoom, just because, and we film them, and then we bring them back up to them. We put them in a Google Drive and say, do you remember us saying this? And we play the film. Okay, here's where we are now. And some guys grasp it and some guys don't. So,
So, I mean, Zoom has to be, is Zoom new? Like, is that new for you guys to be able to Zoom it and record and things like that? Because, I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, like, you're talking about accountability, transparency. My goodness.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
We used to do them just face to face, but now we do them Zoom. And we can even, if we ever had to, which we don't, we have great parents, knock on wood, but if a parent ever said, my kid didn't know this was the case,
right.
we could always pull up the film now. So
Yeah.
the conversation. Here's the exact conversation we had with your child. So
right.
We've never had to do that, but we have that option if we want it.
No, they're not. That's why you don't have that's why you don't have the problems. It's
right.
And I love the transparency meeting. Like that's, people would just say, they're having, like that's where you just have evaluations, I guess what you want to call it, like the transparency meeting. Like here it is, we're being transparent and honest with you about what the plan was and where you should be, and that's great.
And we got a kid right now. He's a pitcher for us, and he asked me the other day because our kids have free reign to come to us and ask questions too. But he goes, "Hey, coach, just kind of want to know what's going on with my innings." And he wasn't upset with it. He was just like trying to figure out everything. And I told him, I said, "Here's what we told you in the fall." He's like, 100%. Like, I'm on board. I just want to see am I developing? Am I not? You were 100% honest with me. You told me where I stood. I just want to know if I've made strides. That kind of stuff. Like, really good conversation. But again, he even referenced the transparency and said, "No, you told me, this is where I would be, and it's where I am. I just want to know, am I making strides to make it to the next step?" So, which is good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You guys owning it, man. Like that's ownership.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, good dude.
For real, dude. Tom, this has been awesome, man. This is great stuff. So, man, but like, a lot of this stuff you said since 2015, has everything really kind of grown? What is it just the Vandy camp that really just kind of changed? Or has all these kind of things stayed with you since 2015, or is this something that maybe that you've had this whole time? I'm just thinking of just.
No, I would say
how much has grown?
I'd say like in the most recent things that have changed, I would say is understanding that like the game is for the kids. Like the on game day, we do very little instruction. I mean, that's one thing I've changed the most. Like if somebody hadn't seen me since 2016, 17, they would probably say, "Man, you're probably coaching these kids into the ground." And I don't say a word to our guys during games. I don't say anything. We have we have cards for sign. I've probably given a steel sign 10 times this year, and we've got 70 bags. I don't give the steel sign. We teach what cues you're looking for in training. We tell them where you got to get to. We use like sprinkler flags and put them out in the field.
Okay.
During BP, and we say, "Listen, work your lead to here. If you get to here, this is when you're going to go. This is your cue here. This is what you're looking for here." So the biggest change I would say is understanding that like when we're training, we're training. Like we're going to train, but whenever it gets to game, it's yours. Like the field is your playground. You let it rip, right? And so I think that's been the biggest change for us. Even more so, like teaching mechanics. Like we don't teach mechanics during BP either. If we're going to teach mechanics, we're going to bring you in and we're going to take you into our hitting facility and teach it in there. But when you get on that field, we kind of want to let it go a little bit. I mean, we'll talk to you about other things, but mechanics, that happens in indoor practice. But when we're training for a game, very little time do we spend talking to the kids on the field. If we're going to talk about it, we'll talk about it in the classroom and then let it rip on the field. So we're just trying to limit the amount of talking that we do on the field. And so I think that's probably been one of the biggest changes. Like when we were playing Liberty last night, our rival, I played them a few years ago. I played them when I was in Upper Arlington. I felt like it felt like a chess match between me and him, me and the other coach, who's a really good coach. But when I look back at it, neither one of us impact the game that much. We're acting like we're making all these calls. We're going to do this. And we're going to steal here. And we're going to do this. Just let the players play, man. Like the players will win the game or lose the game. Let them play. So I think that's been my biggest change, is kind of letting the guys just, like my steal sign yesterday was I pointed at our shortstop and like, "Hey, you get this bag, go ahead and go, brother." Like I don't look for your cue or your key or whatever you want to call it. And if you get it, go. And then play second. And everybody goes, "Man, good steal call there, coach." I'm thinking in my head, I don't give a steal sign.
Yeah.
Man, let it rip. So, but you have to train that. You have to talk about it all the time, and you have to say, okay, here's what you're looking for, or you can say, hey, this is what this guy like. We played a really good team in our state. I won't call it the team; they're unreal team, but they tip curveballs every time. So we steal on every single curveball. And they're like, man, they steal at the right time every time. And it's not me. Our kids knew what the key was, and they see it, and they're like, yep, we're going here. So I think that's the biggest, when you can get guys just to let it rip on the field, like they're in the backyard, and their buddies tipping pitches, and they're just eating them alive.
Yeah, for sure. Now, doing this, you said, so this is something you start in the classroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something in the classroom, then rep it during your practice, during your training sessions. And I know you teach sixth grade, so let's get a little like real life logistics here. Like, you teach sixth grade, so you're not in the building then,
right?
So you have your assistant coach.
Yeah.
So one of my assistant coaches are in the classroom there,
mm-hmm.
and that's how you get it done. Are you earlier than the high school? Or are you guys on the same schedule?
We get out slightly. I think we might get out a little bit later, but I have my last period is a planning period.
Yeah.
And so, but we'll do the classroom in the facility, in our hitting facility now, because I put that projector in there. But what I've noticed too is that for instance, if you go over your practice plan prior to your practice, you'll do less talking in training. And so I used to think like, if I spend 20 minutes in the classroom before a training session, my training is going to take forever. I'm not going to get it. So let's just say, to make it easy, we plan to go 3 to 5. And now I'm going to add the classroom session. Man, we're going to go 3 to 5:30. What you'll notice is that 30 minutes that you spent in the classroom is the 30 minutes you take away from standing around talking to guys on the field. You don't have to talk on the field anymore. Like, you say, okay, listen, we're going to go to this drill. They've already seen it in the classroom. You got a video clip. They've seen it. So they just transition to that drill. You know what I mean? Or we'll go over like our hitting groups and why they are, like the strategic grouping and what it's going to look like. And here's what you're going to do. Okay, now let's go. That way I don't have to stop every single time and say, okay, now we're going to transition to this. It's just, here it is, go.
And they know what they're doing when they get to those groups and those stations.
They know what they do. Yeah.
Right.
And our bread and butter is on-field BP, and you can call it defensive BP, you can call it whatever you want, but like, we get so much done. If you don't take on-field BP, I think you're missing a lot. I mean, a lot. You can do so much. Like, there's the way you structure your rounds, what your rounds are, what the focus of the round is, how you're doing your base running, what your defensive alignment. Like, we can do defensive alignments, and we talk about, okay, even if on our own players, like if we were scouting so-and-so, he's a lefty with a little bit of slap side to him. So let's shade in and on the line in left field. Let's play straight up in center right. Let's shift our defense this way. Like, we work on shifts during that. And then base running, like if I'm a 3-hole hitter, I should be running the bases when the 4 and 5 are up wide, so I can read the flight of his ball, because I'm about to read the flight of his ball in game. Mm-hmm. So I know when Josh Laser hits the ball in a gap, it's going to carry. The dude's got some pop. I've seen it in BP 70 times. I know what it's going to do in a game. It's not my first time reading a Josh Laser fly ball. So, so I just think the structure of your BP and structure of your training, BP is everything. That you can get so much done. Now, we still do indie work and we still do certain defensive stuff, but once they get on that field, man, I just feel like you can let it rip.
Yeah. So everything's based off of. So basically, you're basically running like BP, on-field BP, and then moving right into inter-squad games.
Yeah,
it's like your two main focuses.
In season, it's really like it might be like a what we call our Vandy series, which is our defensive series, and then we may go into a Liberty period, which is our rival period, and then we'll go into on-field BP, and that'll get our base running in, our live defensive stuff. We'll do dead live, which is a sheep thing, and I think you got it from Monty Lee at Clemson. But basically, you're going to go dead swing and then a live, and you're going to play it live with the base runner and try to get alignment. So that's how we work our double cuts and relays, and just all that stuff in the BP segment. So
yeah, and like I think you hit on the head. It's a matter of it looks a lot different in season than what it does like in the fall, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Or even preseason. When you're trying to put things in, I think your PD days, you're man, is that new? Like I said, PD days, I'm sure like that's what really comes out during in season.
Yeah. And sometimes even like with, I don't know if you've ever been in like I remember having stations set up and you'd be like, okay, we got 18 guys. So let's have 9 stations, right? Yeah. And let's rotate these 9 stations so you have 2 guys to the station. everybody's going to go to high tees, and everybody's going to go to angle front toss, and everybody's going to go to weighted backs. Well, I'm sending Billy to high tee, and he doesn't struggle at all. He doesn't need that rep. So we're wasting time, right? Or we're going to go whatever the drill is. Like we get in this situation like we're running camp in our training.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, at a camp environment, you're trying to keep all these kids busy for the 3 hours so they get their money's worth, right? So every kid's going to do the same stations. They're just going to rotate through the station. Why the heck would you ever do that with your team? Like, why would you send your left-handed, big bopping, like stud 3-hole guy to do a drill that absolutely has no benefit? It doesn't, he's not working on a skill that he needs to work on. So like now what we do is we might have a bunting station, which everybody's going to bunt and be able to handle the bat. We're going to have a down angle read station where you're reading down angles from third off of that bunt station. We're going to have a PD station where we're just going to have everything in there, right? There's going to be weighted bats. There's going to be plyo balls. There's going to be tees. There's going to be, but whatever, when you get there, that's your PD station. And then we're going to go mix BP and, hack attack on a fastball and hack attack on a curveball. But we want to mix that PD station in as much as possible.
Yeah.
While we build in the PD days, we also build in PD stations, because I still think back to whenever we didn't have our hitting facility and we'd be like, man, okay, we got to get this many stations because we have this many guys. And then you do the math, right? You're like, okay, let's hit for like an hour today, and we've got 10 stations. So if we do, 3-minute stations 2 times through, we'll have a really good day of hitting. And then you got a guy over there who struggles balls 6, 7, 8 off the plate, and he's doing high inside tee.
Right.
Like, he's doing something that it's just a waste of time. It's a time filler. It's just poor practice planning. So, I think
you're just planning the wrong things. You know what I mean? Like right now, you still plan those, and knowing you and how much you plan, like you still plan those things to a T, but now you're just planning for what the kid really needs.
Right.
Not
right.
so much for what you might have believed was like for me, like I was saying, I'm same way. I mean, I've created my own hitting stations, like Lee had nothing. And I'm exactly the same way. And that's when all of a sudden you bring in like the indie days. Like, but yeah, because like why the world, there's some kids even like if this kid does have to bunt though too, like we're in trouble too. Like, I mean, I had a kid like that, but like they're just regardless is like the guy hitting the backside stuff, like, like there's some dudes in your lineup that you need to also like, they really struggle with this. They need to be doing it. So like, I think it's also purposeful planning, where you're planning for what that kid needs. Like you're planning for an individual kid, which is also basically still helping the team out as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think
you gotta be real strategic. You gotta be real strategic, right? And I think sometimes during season, even in preseason, we think we always have to do team practices, right?
Yeah.
We always think we got to bring in guys as a team. Like, why can't you have a PD day where you group guys? Where you say, listen, you guys got 30 minutes. You all suck at this skill. Let's come in and do this.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, as I got going through is like the PD days. Like, I'm sure, like, because you just said like you went through each guy, but like, does it really kind of seem like PDs always kind of end up kind of grouping? I mean, I'm like, how many different kind of skills are you really kind of getting into?
If it's a PD day like today, they come when they can. So some guys get out of school early, right? Some seniors get out of school early.
Right.
They come. They just know the facility will be open until X time. Come in and get your work in. And so you'll see some guys that train together a lot, and then you'll see sometimes I'll say, hey, like there's a kid that really works well with a lot of Justin Stone's PVC stuff. Now some people hate those PVC drills, but it really clicks for him. So I'll say, hey, listen, I think it might help so-and-so. Why don't you invite him to come to PD day with you? Like, bring him with you. Why don't you guys go through that together and see if it clicks for him too? So, but usually on PD day, it's just an open facility. And then there is some individualized instruction. Like, so our shortstop reached out to our assistant and said, hey, can you throw me a little bit today? I want to work on X, Y, or Z. You know what I mean? But it's more so player driven. Like, they'll say, listen, I'm coming to do this. Can you do this for me? But our guys are so mature, like, they're out long tossing today, or, they just know to get their work, and I don't mess with them on PD days. It's their day. So, but it's valuable because some guys, now I don't track it like this guy showed up, this guy didn't. Everybody shows up, but I guess I would be a little bit concerned if they didn't show up. They don't have to, so we don't tally it. But I would be a little bit concerned if you took unless you like. There will be a time when a kid goes, "Hey, coach, my PD day today, like I need a day.
Yeah,
I need a day."
Yeah, mental health day.
Cool. Yeah, I'm good with that, man. Like it's your personal development. Like, what do you need that day? And some dudes will say, like, I need a day. So I'm good with that too. So I trust them.
That's it. That's the battle there, man. Great stuff. Man, it'd be nice to be our teacher PD days would be nice to like that, huh?
I'll tell you what, they've done that before. Like they've done it in our school a little bit, but yeah, if you could just kind of like hand select, right?
I was just getting some of that. We've had a couple good ones this year where we've been like, okay, I want to do this for 30 minutes. I want to do this.
Right.
Yeah, they're getting better at that. I'm like, look, we're all supposed to differentiate here, you know.
Yeah.
So.
It comes down to trust, right? It's the same thing with your team. Like, would you trust every?
It's exactly what you just said.
Take a look at your teaching staff. You tell me you're going to trust every one of those people to go do what they're supposed to do in terms of personal development.
Right.
Like, I don't know if I like if I'm the boss of our staff. I'm not saying our staff because then one of them is going to hear and think I'm talking about them. But like, if I didn't have full trust in our guys, we wouldn't have as many PD days.
Right.
Same with the teaching staff. Like, if I don't trust you're going to get in there and get after and get better at your craft, then I'm not going to send you off on your way. Like, I'm going to have a structure for you. But the more you trust that staff and the more you trust your team, the more they take ownership over the practice plan or the professional development, personal development days. So.
Absolutely. So speaking of that trust, thing like that, and people might be saying, might be sitting here thinking I'm an assistant coach, I'm the JV head coach. Are your PD days even given to your JV programs?
Not as much. We need to be better at that. But no, they're not. I mean, they do open hitting. They just call them open hitting. And they do those often. So I guess you can.
But do you think it's even developmentally appropriate, at that age to be able to just kind of give them maybe an optional day or saying, hey.
I think for some of the kids, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to that maturity thing. But I think we got some guys on that JV roster that would 100% on a freshman roster as well, that would 100% be able to handle it, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I don't know if holistically, like the whole program, the whole team could. I have the trust in our varsity guys. Like, that's how you get there, right? You wouldn't get there if you didn't have some discipline and maturity about you. So I think it's easier at the older levels, but freshman and JV, I mean, I think it's class by class, team by team.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely team by team, and could be a group of kids that can just kind of go off. Hey, these guys are just going to go off and do their own thing today, and I'm going to work with this small group of kids because they need me there. These other kids we can kind of trust, and we can say they can go do their PD days, and that's where you should be trying to be. But I got to be here with you to make sure you're getting your work done.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like you're a teacher too. I think being a teacher really helps with that, and you're a math teacher. You seem to have to differentiate in your instruction and things like that. But oh man, Tom, this has been great, buddy.
No, I appreciate it.
Wrapping it. So just kind of wrapping things up here, man. Like what, buddy, man, we were sharing your screen. Only two guys have shared the screen. So Itner's the share screen, and then you ended up sharing it. So back-to-back weeks, I got the privilege of seeing some great stuff, man. So like, if anybody else wanted to see more of that stuff, man, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, tell them to get a hold of me at Thomas_Marker at OLSD.US or anything on Twitter. Like if you at Coach Marker on Twitter, they can DM me on there. And I'd love to share some stuff. Like a lot of times, like that's Itner and I bounce so many things off of each other just through meeting through Twitter. So DM me on Twitter, reach out on there. I'd love to share and trade and, figure out how to better our program too.
Coach Tom Marker from Olentangy Orange, just killing it. This is a banger. Coach Marker, man, just can't thank you enough, buddy. Again, if you're not following him on Twitter, you should. It is at Coach Marker. Again, his email address, Thomas_Marker at OLSD.US. Feel free to reach out. Not be disappointed. Just like I'm sure you were not disappointed with that. If you really wanted some information, he gave it to you. Flat out gave it to you. We had some great conversations. Got to get through a ton of stuff. Man, just love his verbiage. I love, like, we texted after he was done, and I just love how he's trying to be intentional about his language. Talked about the transparency meetings, the reduction roster spots, and not going up or down, but playing for JV and playing for varsity to help your team. Being intentional about it. Smart, having a common language. This guy's building a program. It's the kind of thoughts you need to have as you play at the highest level. Don't get to be at the top of the state in Ohio without running a very quality program. Coach Marker does that. So, again, Coach Marker, can't thank you enough for taking some time, especially during season. Talk some baseball. Give a little in-depth knowledge of your program, what you do for your boys. Those boys at Orange are lucky to have you, for sure. And grateful for the opportunity to be able to share some time with you tonight. So I really appreciate it. And for all you guys out there still trying to grow the game, keep it up, keep it going. Feel free to reach out, keep sharing the podcast, keep letting me know any feedback I can and make it better. Anybody else that feels that would benefit here to grow the game, benefit here to help us all learn, I'd be happy to reach out, be happy to just talk some baseball. But just like Coach Marker, man, it was an incredible night. Loved how he talked about his hustle rules for playing the game, giving points not only for just scoring runs, but doing the things that lead to runs. Red alert plays. Oh, my gosh, this guy's just grooming ball players. And his success speaks for itself, man. It speaks for itself. So just truly happy to have another great coach in it for the right reasons, growing the game, helping his young men grow, not only as good baseball players, but growing up to be better people. So, Coach Marker, can't thank you enough. For all you guys, can't thank you enough here for joining us. And until next time, keep getting better.